What if the person who betrayed you in the most profound way, like a business partner who stole from you, or, I don't know, a system that unjustly oppressed you, what if they were actually doing you a cosmic favor?
Right, which sounds completely counterintuitive.
Totally. I
Yeah.
mean, it sounds almost insulting, honestly. But today, we are opening a text that claims exactly that. It says your worst enemies are, in fact, your greatest benefactors. And it doesn't stop there. It lays out this literal, step-by-step mathematical formula for human existence.
Yeah, it's an incredibly detailed framework.
It really is. We're looking at a deeply specific piece of writing titled The Purpose of Life, and it's written by a thinker named Feng. Our mission for this deep dive is to impartially map out this exact perspective on, why we are here, why we suffer, and the honestly incredibly structured cosmic future it claims is waiting for us based on our specific actions.
And I think it's important to establish right up front that our goal here isn't to advocate for this worldview
Right?
or, to suggest you need to adopt these beliefs. Exploring a highly structured, unyielding framework like this is simply a phenomenal way to stress test your own assumptions.
Exactly.
It forces you to look at your assumptions about hardship, about justice, and really the overarching purpose of your life. It's like looking at the internal logic of a completely different operating system for human existence.
I love that analogy, a different operating system. And the very first premise of this text operating system fundamentally decenters humanity.
It really does.
Yeah, to understand our individual day-to-day lives, the text insists we have to zoom out to the entire structure of the universe. It states that the purpose of humanity is to serve the greatest creator, exactly in the same way that flowers and plants serve humanity.
Which is quite a demotion for us.
Right. I mean, okay, let's unpack this, because it strips away an enormous amount of human ego. We inherently place ourselves at the apex of meaning. We build civilizations, we write complex philosophies. We just assume the universe exists primarily for us to perceive it.
We like to think we're the main character.
Exactly. We're the main characters of reality. But this text reduces us to, like, functional flora. Think about a decorative plant in an office lobby.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, like it isn't the main character of the building. It fulfills a function. It provides oxygen, it offers aesthetic value, but ultimately, it just serves the people who placed it there. And Feng argues that is precisely what humanity is to the greatest creator.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the psychological weight of a strictly functional universe is, well, it's really worth dwelling on. On one hand, yeah, it can feel deeply dismissive of our internal complexity.
Yeah, nobody wants to be told they're just a potted fern.
Right. But on the other hand, it establishes a universe of absolute strict cause and effect. The text explicitly claims that there are absolutely no phenomena or results in the universe without reasons.
Right, it calls causes and conditions.
Exactly. It posits a reality with zero randomness, which, is actually deeply comforting for some people.
Well, the text even applies this to the sheer fact of our birth. It says that being born into the human world, rather than into other spaces or realms, is the inevitable mathematical result of various causes and conditions.
So it's not a fluke.
Right. It essentially claims you aren't an accident of biology and you aren't some statistical anomaly.
And if you accept the premise of a universe driven entirely by causes and conditions, your presence here shifts. It goes from being a chaotic accident to a profound intention.
But an intention born of mechanics, right?
Yes, exactly. It replaces the existential dread of a random, uncaring universe with the clockwork precision of a system where every single variable has a specific weight and consequence. You are here because the energetic mechanics of the universe dictated that you must be here.
Okay, so if we are merely functional components in this cosmic machine, the immediate question is what that function actually looks like in practice. Like, what is our day-to-day job?
And the text is very clear on that.
It is. It says we come to the human world for a dual purpose: to enjoy its pleasures, but crucially, to bear its pains. And this introduces the core engine of this entire philosophy, which is karma. The text argues that the suffering we endure is strictly a mechanism to repay debts from our past lives.
What's fascinating here is how it attempts to solve the problem of human suffering through, well, essentially through accounting.
Accounting.
Yeah, think about it. We typically struggle to find meaning in deep pain or tragedy because it feels senseless. By labeling suffering as a transactional mechanism for clearing past actions, the text provides a hyperlogical reason for life's inevitable hardships.
I am trying to visualize the sheer scale of this. It implies we inherit a massive cosmic debt from a past life we don't even remember.
Right.
It's like being born with a multi-million-dollar cosmic credit card debt that someone else racked up, but that someone else was you.
That's a great way to frame it.
And every time we face a profound hardship, and, let's elevate this beyond just a stressful day at work or a stubbed toe. Let's look at deep, long-term personal betrayals or systemic institutional failures that just crush people's livelihood.
Or heavy stuff.
Yeah, the heavy stuff. The text literally says, the more suffering we endure, the more debts we repay. It frames these profound tragedies as forced, mandatory payments on an energetic debt.
And the mechanism here is essentially one of energetic balancing. You might ask, well, why does suffering clear debt?
Right. Why pain?
Because in this framework, pain is the energetic expenditure required to balance the cosmic ledger. It isn't a malicious punishment from an angry deity.
It's just a transaction.
Exactly. It is a necessary financial transaction in the economy of the universe. When a significant life crisis occurs, the text asks you to view that not as a senseless tragedy, but as the universe auditing your account and collecting what is owed.
Which introduces what I find to be the absolute most cognitively demanding part of this deep dive.
Oh, the benefactors.
Yes. Here's where it gets really interesting and kind of tough to swallow. If our suffering is purely a mechanism for debt repayment, how are we supposed to view the actual people who inflict that suffering upon us?
It's a tough pivot.
It is. The text gives a remarkably specific list of these actors. It mentions those who oppose us, insult us, bully us, exploit us, oppress us, humiliate us, deceive us, or create unjust cases against us.
It really highlights behaviors that cause deep psychological and societal harm.
And it concludes that these individuals, the ones actively causing us pain and oppression, are actually our benefactors.
Right.
It says they are the agents actively helping us to transform our karma. Now, I have to challenge this concept deeply.
Please do. It demands pushback.
Because applying this logic to severe real-world harm feels intensely problematic. Reframing an exploiter or an oppressive system as a benefactor requires a massive cognitive leap. I mean, our human instinct and arguably our moral imperative is to fight back against injustice.
To protect ourselves.
Exactly. To view those people as agents of harm. Demanding that someone view their abuser as a benefactor feels like a complete erasure of their lived reality.
It is a radical demand, and it requires entirely dismantling the concept of victimhood.
Totally.
But let's follow the internal logic of the text just to understand the mechanism of that demand. If the universe is perfectly balanced, and your suffering is merely debt repayment, then the person hurting you isn't actually a villain who has derailed your life.
They're just the bill collector.
Exactly. They are just an instrument. You might feel anger toward the bank when you have to pay a massive fine, but the teller processing the transaction isn't the source of the debt. In this framework, the oppressor is merely the teller.
Wow. Okay, that reframes interpersonal conflict into a very stark spiritual workout.
That's a good way to put it.
But if I view a deep wrong simply as a cosmic ATM withdrawal, it theoretically removes the emotional friction. But actually maintaining that perspective when you are in the thick of being exploited, that requires an almost superhuman level of emotional detachment.
Oh, it demands an ironclad internal discipline. Think about the physical resistance required to build muscle.
Okay.
The heavy weights you lift at the gym, they're causing micro tears in your muscle fibers. They are actively harming you in the moment.
Right.
But the resistance is the very thing facilitating your strength. In this text's view, the exploiter is the heavyweight. Without them, you couldn't exert the energy required to pay off your karmic debt.
I see.
Therefore, in the strict mathematics of this philosophy, they are facilitating your spiritual progress. They are your benefactors.
But my immediate question is how you prevent that perspective from turning into just like complete passivity.
Right, just lying down and taking it.
Yeah. If someone is exploiting me and I just accept it to burn off my karma, I am enduring the pain. But the text adds a massive caveat here, doesn't it?
It does. It explicitly warns that while you are enduring this suffering, you must refrain from creating new karma in the process.
That is the crux of the challenge. You are placed in a situation designed to cause you profound pain, and you must absorb that pain without reacting in a way that generates new friction.
Right. No revenge, no holding grudges.
It reads less like a moral judgment and more like the laws of thermodynamics.
Oh, how so?
Well, you're either generating heat and friction by fighting back, seeking revenge, which keeps you trapped in the cycle, or you're absorbing the impact. You're cooling down, achieving an energetic absolute zero, and preparing to float into a higher sphere. You can't pay off your old cosmic debt while simultaneously swiping a new credit card by reacting with anger or malice.
The thermodynamic analogy perfectly captures the mechanism. Heavy karma acts as a gravitational weight. The friction of your reactions keeps you dense, tethered to this specific plane of existence. Absorbing the pain without generating new karma makes you lighter.
Wait, so let's say I actually managed to do this.
A big if.
A huge if. But if I endure the exploitation, view the oppressor as a benefactor, and pay off my cosmic credit card without swiping a new one, where does that leave me?
Yeah.
So what does this all mean for the future? Does the universe just let me off the hook, or is there a specific destination?
The text lays out a highly structured, tiered system of eternity. It maps exactly what happens if we succeed or fail to stop creating new karma.
It's like a complex video game skill tree.
It really is. The hierarchy it presents is incredibly detailed, and it operates entirely on the specific frequency of your actions. Let's map out the mechanisms of these tiers, starting with the baseline.
So the baseline, or the failure state, is what happens if you continue to create karma. If you keep fighting back, if you hold on to resentment, the text says you will simply be reborn as a human to repeat the cycle.
You stay in the loop.
Yeah. The more karma you generate, the more suffering you guarantee for your future self. And if the energetic weight becomes dense enough, you descend to the animal or plant realms.
Which brings us full circle to the text's opening premise.
The potted fern.
Exactly. If you fail to manage your human agency responsibly, that agency is stripped away entirely. You become the literal cosmic houseplant, entirely subservient, merely fulfilling a basic function in the background of reality, without the capacity for self-determination.
So the goal is definitely to avoid that descent.
Mm.
Let's say you endure your suffering perfectly. You don't react, you stop creating new karma, and you attain what the text calls perfect humanity. The text states that doing this unlocks the first pier. You enter the 1,000-year world in the next life.
And it is crucial to examine the mechanism of this first tier. Reaching the 1,000-year world requires only a passive sort of goodness.
Passive goodness.
Yeah, it is achieved through omission. You simply have to stop generating negative friction. You absorb the pain of the world and you remain energetically neutral.
It is basically playing perfect defense.
Exactly.
But the universe in this text clearly demands more than just neutrality. To reach the next level, Tier 2, you must elevate to the 10,000-year world. And this requires a fundamental shift in behavior. You cannot just stop creating karma. You must actively accumulate merits by serving society and others.
This raises an important question, right? This is where the thermodynamics of the framework become really fascinating. A closed system needs active, positive energy to sustain itself. Merely avoiding harm doesn't contribute new energy, it just prevents energetic leaks.
Right.
So the 10,000-year world requires you to transition from passive perfection to active goodness. You must re-engage with the chaos of the human world and input positive energy by serving others.
But wait, the psychological difficulty of this cannot be overstated.
No, it's immense.
You are expected to endure the exploitation of others without anger, while simultaneously turning around and actively serving the very society that harbors those exploiters.
That requires an astonishing level of resilience. You are simultaneously acting as a sponge for the world's karmic pain and a generator for its positive merit.
But incredibly, that still isn't the apex. The text outlines Tier 3, the ultimate goal of human existence, the Elysium world. To reach this eternal realm, you must stop creating karma, you must continuously serve others to accumulate merit, and you must also actively proclaim the glory of the greatest creator.
Notice the architecture of this ultimate tier. It rests on three distinct pillars that encompass every aspect of existence.
Okay, let's break those down.
First, the internal discipline to stop karma, that's mastering the self. Second, the external action of serving society, that's mastering your relationship with others. And third, the spiritual devotion of proclaiming the Creator's glory, which is mastering your relationship with the cosmos itself.
Wow.
Only by aligning your internal state, your external actions, and your universal devotion do you achieve the frequency necessary for eternity.
It leaves absolutely no room for ambiguity. It is a closed loop of logic. The text literally concludes its argument by stating, this is the purpose of human life. It provides a specific mechanism for our origins, a mathematical reason for our daily pain, and an exact roadmap to an eternal destination.
And by doing so, it attempts to order the chaos of human experience into a perfectly legible system.
Taking all of this internal logic into account, Let's bring it back to your actual life as you are listening to this deep dive. Try to imagine applying this uncompromising framework to the complex realities of your day-to-day.
Just as an exercise.
Exactly. Like if you are navigating a deeply unjust workplace or dealing with a fractured, painful relationship, what happens if you view that friction strictly as a ledger waiting to be balanced? If the person causing you distress is fundamentally just a tool provided by the universe to help you burn off past debt, it radically alters the emotional stakes of your life.
It really does.
It turns the human experience from a chaotic battlefield into a highly regulated training ground.
It provides immense structure, yes. But it also leaves us with a profound existential paradox.
Wait, what is the paradox at the core of this?
Well, think about it. The entire mechanism of this philosophy is driven by the goal of completely stopping the creation of karma, enduring all suffering perfectly, and ultimately ascending to this eternal, frictionless Elysium world.
Right, the end goal.
But what does that eternal existence actually look like? Human identity, our deepest art, our capacity for empathy, our profound resilience, these qualities are almost exclusively forged in the fire of overcoming adversity. We understand who we are through our struggles.
Our humanity is shaped by the friction.
Exactly. If you follow this text to its ultimate conclusion and successfully remove all karmic friction, you achieve absolute peace. But does an eternity without any struggle mean a state of perfect bliss? Or does it mean losing the very friction that makes us recognizable to ourselves?
Wow.
If the defining characteristic of human life is the capacity to bear pain and transform it, what exactly are we when the pain is finally gone?
That is a genuinely haunting question to end on. Does following the instruction manual ultimately teach us how to build the perfect version of ourselves? Or does it teach us how to dismantle our humanity entirely to become something else? That is a tension you will have to mull over on your own time. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It has been a fascinating journey mapping out this incredibly specific cosmic architecture with you. Until next time, keep exploring the frameworks and keep diving deep.